Think live sports are just about the action on the field? Think again. Sometimes the most jaw-dropping moments don't come from the athletes. They explode right from the commentary booth. Imagine being so reckless, so unfiltered, or just so unlucky that you get fired while the cameras are still rolling, microphones still hot, and the world is watching. Ever wondered which voices went from calling the shots to getting silenced live? Get ready, because some of these broadcasting blunders will have you covering your ears. Tom Brenamman. This is the kind of story that every broadcaster fears, a mic that catches something you never meant for the world to hear. Tom Brenamman, the seasoned voice of the Cincinnati Reds, was just settling in for another night at the ballpark when a single comment, never meant for public ears, suddenly made its way across the airwaves. During what should have been a routine break, a homophobic slur slipped out, totally unguarded, and millions heard it live. The shock was immediate. Social media erupted in real time, and the network acted fast. But here's where it gets truly surreal. As Brenamman launched into a live apology, mid-broadcast, voice shaking with regret, a Reds player hit a home run. Brenamman had to call the play while apologizing, making for one of the strangest, most uncomfortable on-air moments in sports history. Within minutes, he was pulled off the broadcast, replaced instantly, and his career with the Reds was effectively over. There was no commercial break, no time for a quiet phone call. Tom Brenamman was erased from the booth as the game continued, leaving viewers and fans stunned at how fast a reputation can unravel. Don Imus was no stranger to controversy, but in 2007, he finally pushed it too far, live, and with the world watching. Known for his sharp tongue and loose cannon approach, Imus and his producer made a series of crude, racially charged remarks about the Rutgers University women's basketball team. The segment aired on MSNBC's live simulcast, and the backlash hit like a tidal wave before the show even wrapped. Viewers, sponsors, and public figures voiced outrage in real time, and the pressure mounted fast. The network cut to commercial, and when the broadcast returned, there was an awkward, noticeable shift. The end was near. Imus tried to apologize, but it was too late. By the next segment, MSNBC had dropped him live, and his long-running radio show was axed soon after. This wasn't a case of backroom firings or behind-the-scenes negotiations. Don Imus learned his fate as millions watched, making him a poster child for how quickly a mic can become a career-ending weapon. If you think words can't ruin you in seconds, this story says otherwise. Kyper. There's a reason broadcasters get paid to be careful. But sometimes, even the most experienced voices slip, and the fallout can be instant. Kyper had been the trusted play-by-play man for the Oakland Athletics for years, respected for his steady delivery and knowledge of the game. That all changed in May 2023, when Kyper, during a pre-game segment, described a visit to the Negro League's baseball museum. What should have been a respectful moment turned ugly, as Kyper mispronounced the word in a way that sounded like a racial slur, right on live TV. The reaction was electric. Fans and viewers lit up social media, the A's moved swiftly, and the network cut him from the broadcast before the game was even over. By the next day, Kyper was gone, fired after an internal investigation, but pulled off live TV almost immediately after the incident. It's a harsh reminder. In the age of social media and instant replays, even a split-second slip can end decades of work. Andy Gray was once the golden voice of British football analysis, known for his insight and passion on Sky Sports. But in 2011, Gray, along with his co-host Richard Keys, was caught making sexist comments about a female assistant referee. What they didn't realize was that their private conversation was still live, and the cameras were rolling. The backlash came with the speed of a red card. As complaints poured in from viewers and organizations, Sky Sports didn't wait for the next news cycle. They pulled Gray off the air before the show was even over. His co-host followed soon after. The network even addressed the firing live, making it clear they wouldn't tolerate that kind of talk. Gray's career as the face of football commentary ended in a blink, not in a memo, but in the middle of a broadcast, his absence as loud as his earlier opinions. In a world where sports is trying to change for the better, Gray's exit is a warning shot. The mic is always live, even when you think it's not. Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh was already a lightning rod in talk radio, but when ESPN gave him a seat on NFL Countdown in 2003, they hoped his bold takes would boost ratings. Instead, he detonated his own job, live, and in front of millions. During a panel discussion, Limbaugh argued that Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb was overrated and only given credit because of his race. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Viewers, panelists, and NFL players voiced outrage while the broadcast was still on air. ESPN execs had seen enough. They pulled Limbaugh before the end of the broadcast, and by the next day, he was officially out, his seat empty and reputation scorched. Limbaugh later claimed he left for the good of the network, but the reality is this: he was fired live, with no chance to explain or backtrack. Sometimes one hot take is all it takes to get you permanently benched. Cosell. Howard Cosell was a legend, a voice so iconic you could recognize it across a crowded bar. But even legends can stumble, especially when the nation is listening. In 1983, during a Monday Night Football broadcast, Cosell made a comment about Washington wide receiver Alvin Garrett, using a term that instantly drew fire. Cosell claimed it was an innocent reference to Garrett's size, something he called his own grandkids, but viewers didn't buy it. The outrage went national before the quarter ended. Newspapers, politicians, and angry fans flooded ABC with calls. The network scrambled. By the time the next Monday rolled around, Cosell was out, gone from the most-watched football broadcast on TV. It wasn't a slow fade. ABC made it clear his comments had crossed the line, and he would not return. For decades, Cosell had built his brand on being brash and unfiltered. But in that moment, live and unscripted, one phrase wiped it all away. If you ever wondered if anyone is too big to fail, Cosell's on-air exit is proof. No one gets a free pass forever. Steve Lyons. Steve Lyons, a former Red Sox utility player, was a familiar face in the Fox Sports booth, quirky, spontaneous, always trying to lighten the mood. But during Game 3 of the 2006 ALCS, that spontaneity backfired. On live TV, Lyons made a racially insensitive joke about his Spanish-speaking broadcast partner, Lou Piniella. The intent might have been humor, but the delivery was tone-deaf, and the moment hung in the air like a bad pitch. Fox executives didn't wait until after the game. As social media picked up steam and angry calls poured in, Lyons was pulled from the broadcast team before the next pitch. By the end of the series, he was officially gone, fired for a joke that was anything but funny. The message was clear: live sports is no place for careless jokes, and nobody's immune from consequences. For Lyons, it was a one-way ticket from the booth to the unemployment line, all in real time. Ron Atkinson. Ron Atkinson was a fixture in British football, known for his colorful style and blunt honesty. But in 2004, that bluntness crossed a line internationally. After a Champions League match, thinking his mic was off, Atkinson made a racist comment about a Chelsea player. The catch? The feed was still live overseas. Within minutes, his words went global. ITV, his home network, got wind of the comment before the next commercial break. The result was instant. Atkinson was fired while some viewers were still watching replays. There was no damage control, no apology tour. One thoughtless comment, broadcast live, wiped out decades of respect in a single night. Atkinson's sudden disappearance from British screens sent a message that reverberated far beyond soccer. Your mic is never really off, and the world is always listening. For Atkinson, the fall from grace was fast, brutal, and completely self-inflicted. Jimmy the Greek Snyder. For years, Jimmy the Greek Snyder was the gambling kingpin on CBS's NFL Today, known for his predictions and wild takes. But in 1988, an off-the-cuff TV interview torched everything he'd built. During a routine chat, Snyder started making openly racist comments about black athletes. This wasn't just a slip. It was a full meltdown, live on television. CBS executives heard about it as the segment was still airing. By the next show, Snyder's chair was empty. The network didn't sugarcoat it. They read a statement live, condemning his words and announcing his exit. Just like that, the NFL Today's most colorful voice was silenced. In a pre-internet world, Snyder's downfall traveled fast, proof that even in the 80s, some things couldn't be walked back. For Jimmy the Greek, one ugly rant ended a legendary run. right as the cameras rolled. Don Cherry. Don Cherry was hockey's loudest suit, a man who turned Coach's Corner into must-see TV for decades. But in 2019, during a routine Hockey Night in Canada segment, Cherry made pointed remarks about immigrants and their loyalty to Canada. His words were delivered live, straight into millions of living rooms, and the backlash hit before the intermission was even over. Social media exploded with outrage. Sponsors threatened to pull support, and calls for Cherry's firing trended before the game ended. Sportsnet, the show's broadcaster, acted fast. Cherry was gone before the next broadcast. The network didn't wait for some quiet, off-air apology. Instead, Cherry's co-host Ron McLean addressed the controversy directly to viewers on the very next show, confirming Cherry's dismissal. After decades on air, Cherry's career didn't end with a gold watch, it ended live, in the glare of public scrutiny. For generations, he was the voice of Saturday Night Hockey. Now, he's a cautionary tale. Even legends can be silenced in real time when the world decides you've crossed the line. Jim Carter and Steve Shaw. Jim Carter and Steve Shaw thought they were just having a private laugh while calling a high school basketball game in Maine. But their microphones were still live, and their comments, mocking student-athletes' weight and uniforms, were broadcast to every listener in earshot. The response was instant and furious. Parents and fans flooded the station's phone lines while the game was still underway. The owner of WOW FM, hearing the uproar in real time, made a decision. Both Carter and Shaw were fired before the final buzzer. One of them was even removed from the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame as a result. There was no waiting until morning. No, we're looking into it. The axe fell mid-game, and by the time the post-game wrap-up rolled around, two familiar voices were already gone for good. If you ever needed a lesson in treating every mic like it's hot, this disaster should be required listening. Mark Martello. You never know when a seemingly ordinary college basketball game is about to turn into a commentator's career ender. For Mark Martello, it was a matchup between Montana and Portland State in 2021. Martello, clearly unimpressed with the Portland team and the city, started making disparaging comparisons to crime-ridden areas and then likened the team's supposed infractions to a violent political group. The broadcast was live, and it wasn't just awkward, it was divisive and offensive. Complaints started coming in during the first half, and school officials didn't wait. During halftime, Martello was replaced, pulled from the booth and replaced on the spot. The second half was called by a different announcer. The incident was addressed directly on air, and Martello's firing was made official before the final whistle. That's how fast things can move when a broadcast crosses the line. 1 minute you're the play-by-play voice, the next you're out, mid-game, and with no way back in. Michael Goldberg. Michael Goldberg was a big name in mixed martial arts commentary, so when Fox brought him in to call an NFL game in 2014, the stage was set for a career leap. Instead, it became a legendary crash and burn. From the opening kickoff, Goldberg stumbled, botched player names, fumbled plays, and the kind of awkward silences that make producers sweat bullets. Viewers immediately lit up social media with complaints and memes. Goldberg made it worse by lashing out at critics online during commercial breaks, using language that made everything messier. Fox Sports execs were watching all of it unfold live. Before the game ended, they pulled Goldberg from the broadcast, his NFL career over before it started. The announcement was made public, before post-game highlights even rolled. If you thought a bad first day at work couldn't get any worse, imagine getting fired on live TV before the clock hit 0.